Like
Yeah.
I had a TA who was sad working for me after she had taken the class, and she enjoyed
Oh,
watching the Zoe show as a student. But then working for me as a TA, she was saying, you're just not inspiring me to do a good job. And I
wow.
felt listen, it's not my job to inspire you to do a good job. Like, you're my employee and your job is to work for me.
I feel it myself too because I do the same thing. People reach out and they invite me to do something or they ask to pick my brain, and that was becoming one of my least favorite expressions in the English language.
Yeah,
I'm
what should people ask? Let's give people a phrase. And I don't know what it is, but I feel the same way.
Yeah, when people say pick your brain, I always feel like first I'd like my brain unpicked, thank you very much. And I
Yeah.
it's a weird phrase and or even buy you a cup of coffee. That one has started to really bother me over the
Oh,
last few years
yeah.
because I can afford my own coffee and my time is worth more than that cup of coffee. Like
Yeah.
it's not it's not like a I think I'm so interesting or so important thing. It's that cl- I'm a professional and I'm in the field of selling intellectual property, which means the thoughts that you're asking for from me are thoughts that people pay for. And I'm happy to have a chat with somebody for free that I think I can help. But the frame of let me buy you a cup of coffee, it's like it feels transactional.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure
What
what the
what
right
about
way to pitch that is.
what about just could I ask your advice? How does that
See,
feel?
advice. There's something about the word advice that makes people excited to offer their wisdom. It makes them feel like someone who has something to share, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there is
Yeah.
this feel of respect and no entitlement. Like, if you're
Yeah.
asking for advice, you're clearly not feeling entitled to that advice. And clearly this is someone you respect who doesn't need to give you this thing that you need, but you'll be very appreciative if they do.
Yeah, and it's you know what? That's also a frame too. The framing of advice is putting them in a position of um, being a teacher with a student as opposed to someone who's trying to get something from them. Students we don't think our students are trying to like swindle us out of our time. Like there are students, and you talked about that a little bit too, which is you described a shift in how teaching your class when you were encouraged to think of hosting your class, right, instead of teaching your class. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, this was the major paradigm shift for me as a teacher when Danny Meyer, the restaurateur, came to Yale School of Management, and he had just published a book called Setting the Table, which is lovely.
Mm.
And his suggestion to all of us in the room, being mostly MBA students, was you're all in the hospitality business. So for me as a teacher, I just asked myself, what would it look like if I were in the hospitality business? What would it look like if I were hosting my class instead of teaching my class? And this was a sea change from one semester to the next, where I had been so stressed out, crazy, meticulous, micromanagey of students and TAs. And this class was very popular and successful, and all of that. People really wanted to take it. But I was grinding all of us, including me. I was just grinding us and
Yeah.
had very rigid social norms and rules and expectations. And I didn't have time for anybody. I just focused all of my attention on the class, trying to shine as the star. And
Mm.
that was a really different, even though I thought that I was serving and the best thing that I could do is shine in the spotlight, I I really wasn't thinking of these people as humans and interacting with them as humans. They were employees and they were kind of the audience. Like,
Yeah.
I had a TA who was sad working for me after she had taken the class, and she enjoyed
Oh,
watching the Zoe show as a student. But then working for me as a TA, she was saying, you're just not inspiring me to do a good job. And I
wow.
felt listen, it's not my job to inspire you to do a good job. Like, you're my employee and your job is to work for me
Yeah.
and do
The
the
whole section
work
called
that
self-help.
I give
Go
you.
read one. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um but then after making this shift where I just relaxed for all of
Mm,
us, I relaxed my expectations for my TAs, for the students, and for myself.
yeah.
And the TAs and I come in early. We're there when students show up. We learn everybody's names as quickly as we can, which of a lot of students and it takes forever. But we greet people when they come in and we just ask it, we make small talk with them. And my expectations for the students are very little. Like I have to give them grades, but I don't count attendance anymore. If somebody
Mm,
comes in late, I'm just happy that they're there. I smile and I welcome them. And there's no judgment. Like if you're at a party, if you're a party guest, you can spill a glass of wine. If you're a party host, you can drop the entree and have it splatter all over the ground and you just order out for pizza and it's completely fine. When I switched to having, this was during the pandemic, I switched to, we're not even taking attendance anymore. And I still have every class, even virtual, 90% of people showing up
yeah.
and lots of students showing up every single class, every single day on time to be there because they want to be there.
Yeah.
As a teacher, that's an incredible feeling.
Yeah, I love that reframe, and it's something that happened for me early-ish in my magic career when I was struggling to get the responses I wanted out of my stage show. I wasn't getting the applause or as heavy as I wanted it. They weren't laughing as hard as I wanted them to. I just wasn't getting what I wanted. And a veteran magician took me aside after a show, and he said, "The problem is you're trying to get something from the audience." He goes, "Listen to your language. You're describing the problem as I'm trying to get applause. I'm trying to get laughter." He said, "What if instead you showed up to give them an experience? And that's all. That no expectation of what they do with that, but you show up to give them the sense of wonder, to give them a joyous experience, to give them a break from their stress and anxiety, right?" And as soon as I started just going, what's in it for them, right? What gift could I give them right now? And then they can do with it whatever they want, you know? Yeah, it
That's so
totally changed.
beautiful.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
it's beautiful and it makes me think about what we have going on now with this great resignation where even before this, if you ask people why they quit their jobs, 50% of them said they quit because of a bad boss. And
Yeah.
when McKinsey, who should know a lot about what it takes to be a good boss, has done studies of managers, they find 90% of managers don't exhibit the qualities of good leadership. So
Mm,
most of us have bad bosses and most of us are bad bosses.
mm,
So I I tell people now the ways in which I am a bad boss and what we need to do to mitigate it. And I also teach students and people who take my workshops how to manage their own relationship with their boss. But if we just start with the idea that leadership is so freaking hard, it's
mm,
not something people are naturally good at. It's something people have very little training in. And if we can come to any leadership role we have as a service role, just like you were talking about, like, what can I give here? And how can I serve the people who supposedly work for me? It's
mm.
a game changer.